Welcome to Workplace Psychology with Dr. Martha Grajdek. I'm Dr. Martha Grajdek. This podcast examines a wide variety of work-related issues through the lens of industrial and organizational psychology. And while many of the topics discussed here may be seen as intended for white-collar employees and their employers, in reality, the ideas presented here are applicable across organizations and industries. Additionally, many of the topics discussed here may be applicable outside of the workplace. I encourage you to examine what's presented here, apply what makes sense to you, and simply discard the rest. Whether we're considering making deals or bringing on board new talent, finalizing such agreements happens on paper, whether these are contracts or other types of agreements. Most official decisions are done through offers, acceptances, and signatures. But as we consider the success, especially long-term success of such deals and agreements, it is the day-to-day behaviors that can make or break the final result. While many organizations have in place some kind of onboarding processes or practices, and many of them are quite good, the reality is that far too many are incomplete. In order to have a successful new talent acquisition and experience, it's important to consider the human factor and the organization's culture as the two come together. Let's think about the human factor, or the human curve, if you will. With bringing a new person on board come many things that need to be considered, but sometimes get overlooked in the midst of all the paperwork, contracts, agreements, and benefits. The first thing I would point out is uncertainty. Uncertainty from the new hire's point of view and uncertainty from the corporation's point of view. While the decision to bring someone on board may seem like a good one, there are no guarantees in terms of how well it will work out. Beyond the organization's uncertainty and the new employee's uncertainty, there may also be uncertainty among the existing employees, especially those individuals who will be interacting with the new talent. This is why it's so important for organizations to be proactive in addressing any questions, any concerns, and anything that would lead to a sense of uncertainty. Getting ahead of uncertainty will make all the difference as we move forward with a new hire. One of the big considerations is this idea of us versus them, or new versus old, or new versus existing employees. Organization and its leadership absolutely must strive to establish a unity, not only between organization and workforce, but also between existing and new incoming employees. After all, everyone comes together within an organization for the same goals and purposes. As we look at bringing new people on board and mitigating this whole idea of uncertainty, it's important to have in place an integration plan. And while this will include all the basics, including agreements and all sorts of different paperwork, there's more to it than that. Many organizations also include comprehensive training. Some may include less than comprehensive training, and a few offer no real training at all. Proper training is absolutely critical for successful onboarding, especially if we're looking for long-term success, and what organization isn't. Beyond training, beyond ensuring that a new employee knows how to do his or her job properly, It's important to consider things such as vocabulary unification. It's not uncommon for companies or for industries even to have their own language, their own terms, things that may not have much meaning to people outside of the company or the industry, or may have a different meaning for those who are not part of that company or industry. So it's important, especially when new employees are brought into an organization, that everyone understands terminology that is commonly used within the organization and within the industry. This is not the time to leave people guessing. Clarity regarding systems and tools that are used should be part of a comprehensive training program. So it goes without saying that this is something that should be part of the onboarding and training process. Understanding responsibilities and decision permissions or rights is absolutely critical. In order for a new employee to succeed, they must have a clear understanding of what they're responsible for and what permissions they have in terms of decision making. Having an onboarding partner can be a tremendous help for anyone who's new to the organization. This could be a person that spends a week or two with the new employee, whether that's during the entire day or during part of the day, as they navigate the new landscape and their new responsibilities. They could lend a hand in explaining things such as the company's norms, expectations, tools, and communications preferences. While HR can take care of explaining things such as benefits, an onboarding partner can fill in the blanks when it comes to that on-the-job training, but also being able to acclimate to the new organization, to the new company. This is a person who can not only lead the way or guide the new employee, but they can do things such as introducing them, explaining who does what, and explaining to existing employees what the new hire will be responsible for. Successful onboarding also takes into consideration the organization's culture. It is absolutely critical that the new employee is given every opportunity to not only understand the organization's culture, but is able to understand how to best fit in. Being paired with an ambassador of sorts, someone who can guide and offer support as a new employee becomes acclimated to the company's culture, can be tremendous in terms of that transition for the new employee, but also for the other employees and the organization as a whole. This role could be taken on by the onboarding partner, or it could be something that is performed by a different person altogether. A cultural ambassador wouldn't necessarily need to spend an entire day for a week or two with the new employee to help them understand the organization's culture and to better acclimate to it. This is why that responsibility could either be performed by the onboarding partner or by someone else. What are some good ways of introducing a new employee to the organization's culture? Things such as storytelling can be incredibly helpful. This is stories of the organization and its existing employees, but also stories that come from the new employee. Helping the new employee to understand how things are done, what are the norms, what are the procedures, but also what are the rituals that are common and normal within that organization is part of that cultural acclimation. It's easy to understand why social exchanges can be so helpful and so important when new people are brought on board. And while social exchanges are inevitable, necessary, and helpful between the new employee and the existing employees, dedicating a cultural ambassador and an onboarding partner can help the new employee to become part of that organization and its culture more effectively and more quickly. Something else to consider as new talent is brought on board pertains to keeping track of how the new employee is doing. A 90-day scorecard is a good idea as a starting point. Keeping track of one's progress, how well they're learning and acclimating, can be done in a variety of ways. It's important to remember that the more variables that come into play that are considered, the better, more complete of a picture management will be able to extract in terms of how well the new person is doing. So it's not just about their performance, how well they do their new job, their accuracy, but also things such as how well they fit in within the culture, how well they work with other employees. A new employee can sometimes feel as they are being put under a microscope and constantly watched and evaluated, especially when they first join the organization. And while for the most part that may be inevitable, it's important that there is a two-way communication that is frequent and readily available. Open door policies and frequent conversations can be critical, especially at the very beginning of someone's career within an organization. It may make sense to provide a list of frequently asked questions that would be readily available to new hires. And while new employees should be encouraged to ask questions and seek clarification as needed, management will do well to be proactive in starting conversations with new employees to ensure that any questions are answered and any confusion is clarified. As this episode comes to an end, let's review what was discussed. A successful onboarding process brings together a variety of variables. And while paperwork, contracts, and proper training tend to be the norm for many organizations, it's absolutely critical to remember the human factor and the organization's culture in terms of onboarding and its success. From proactive steps to minimize or eliminate uncertainty, to vocabulary unification, to onboarding partners, an organization has many opportunities to maximize the benefits of its onboarding process, and therefore ensuring the success of not only the onboarding, but the employee's success into the future. As this week comes to an end, I encourage you to consider the onboarding process within your organization. And while this will mostly apply to those in management and leadership positions, anyone who is not in a management position can also reflect on their own onboarding experiences within the organization and offer constructive suggestions to management. How robust is your onboarding process? Does it take into consideration a variety of points, including things such as the human factor and the organization's culture, or is it minimalized and scaled down more for speed or efficiency rather than considering long-term success. For those of you who experience this podcast in an audio-only version, I encourage you to check out my YouTube channel, Stress Free with Dr. G, where you can find the video version of the podcast. While there, check out some of the other videos. They focus on stress management. Stress Free with Dr. G is available on YouTube, and the link for that is in the description below. Thank you for joining me today. Please subscribe to this podcast. I look forward to seeing you here again next time. Until then, I wish you joy and well-being.